This is NR2003 Predicts. Using constantly updating ratings, we determine where Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series drivers will place at any given track any given week. Standard disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only, using the process of artificial intelligence, and should not be used in the process of gambling. So here's how it works. We update drivers' ratings week by week as we go throughout the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We run a 100% simulation with normal tire wear and fuel consumption. Qualifying results match what the drivers actually ran in real life. Because qualifying data can't be arranged at the same time as forcing cautions, stages will not be enforced throughout these races. And weather used reflects the real-time data based on the actual start time of the race. Kyle Larson and William Byron inherit the front row. The green flag flies and we're racing here in Sonoma. And Larson did not get a good jump immediately. The two Hendrick teammates, William Byron and Chase Elliott, soar out in front of the 42 car. Heading through the area of this track that they're familiar with, as Denny Hamlin's now trying to challenge Larson for third. And now here they come into the carousel area. Make that hard right-hand turn and down the hill and back up into that blind spot. That's going to be a big challenge for these drivers as they go throughout this day. Byron and Elliott have checked out. Meanwhile, Larson's still side by side with Hamlin, trying to see if the inside line is going to work here, and it should. However, Hamlin seems like he's got a solid run off the corner and into this drag strip area. Down that long straightaway, and Hamlin takes the position, it looks like. He's definitely going to have the space on the inside right here, and he's got third place. And now Truex Jr. trying to challenge Larson for fourth. Larson just going backwards at this point, and now back into the S's. Back and forth through this hilly area of California. Larson looks like he'll slot into fourth firmly. Truex Jr. will come in just behind him at fifth. But it looks like Byron's going to be the one that gets out in front as they come into the final corners of this racetrack. Obviously, this new configuration, not really exactly new, but definitely new for all the drivers on the circuit today. They have never run this circuit in a cup car besides the practices earlier this weekend. There is William Byron trying to work his way around. He's got the lead at the moment. He finished 25th here in his rookie season. Obviously, with that old configuration now, everyone's on an equal playing field, and it's all going to come down to experience. We'll see if Byron's able to take what he learned here last year and try to apply it. Martin Truex Jr. was the winner here last year with the old configuration. Was able to kind of snooker Kevin Harvick on pit strategy in the last stage, and able to take the victory, leading the most laps, more than half of them, in the 110-lap event. This time we're down to 90 because of the longer circuit. Clint Bowyer had a solid third-place run here last season, and he is the best driver on average finish at this racetrack. And he is a former winner here as well. He came in and won on the old configuration in 2012. That was when he was driving with Michael Waltrip Racing in the number 15. Chase Elliott, who's currently second, is also second on average finish, just behind Bowyer with an average of 11. He got a fourth place finish here last year, so he's coming in with a little bit of momentum, and he's the only non-Gibbs or Penske driver to win a race this season coming at Talladega. Speaking of Gibbs, here's Eric Jones in the 20 car, and he's in a bit of a testy situation as he is 7 points outside of 16th place. He currently runs in the 18th spot in the point standings behind Ryan Newman and Jimmy Johnson riding on board now. He is on the cutoff spot, and he is kind of in the mid-pack at the moment, trying to chase down some of the leaders. You can see there's Almirola, Busch, Blaney, all those guys just outside the top 10. Alex Bowman included in that, and there is Bowman, who I believe is running in the 11th spot. We're on board Bowyer. Bowman's doing pretty alright this season, the second highest performing driver at Hendrick. Had a string of second place finishes. Really went on a hot streak, gonna see if he can capitalize today. Kyle Busch is currently in the 8th position, and he's far behind the top 7. He ties Martin Truex Jr. with 2 victories at this circuit among active drivers. and he is pretty solid. He comes in 10th on average finish in 14 races, 4 top 5s and 6 top 10s, trying to see if he can add another top 10 or improve on himself. Daniel Suarez is putting up an impressive performance, not just this race, but also this season, as he currently runs in 4th position, trying to see if he can gain any points as he comes into this race 13th in the point standings. Denny Hamlin, just ahead of him, is trying to track down the 9 and the 24 and try to break up that Hendrick duo that's been hogging the lead so far. Hamlin already has 2 wins under his belt, but he's definitely not going to count out at 3rd and try to build those playoff points. Ryan Blaney's trying to fight his way up here into the top 10. We saw him a little earlier. He's currently running in the 9th position in standings, which is pretty solid. He is behind his 2 teammates, and they have won races so far this season. Blaney has not. Going to try to see what he can do to recover from that 34th place finish he had last season at this racetrack. Ryan Newman is another guy we want to watch out for in the point standings. He is 3 points behind the Chase cutoff, which is held by Jimmy Johnson, just a couple spots ahead of him. Right now, he's not in the contention spot to gain stage points, and he's going to lose a few points to Johnson if he stays where he is, but we've got a long race to go. However, the passing's been kind of limited. Austin Dillon has not had a great race going for him either, and he is pretty far back in terms of starting position, as well as Jones was. Several guys that we expect to be out in front really did not qualify well this race, and we're trying to see if they're going to pick their way back up, but they're having problems right now just passing on this racetrack. It might come down to pit strategy in terms of who gets out in front. Almirola trying to chase down Ryan Blaney. He's been doing solid as well. Another one of those Stewart-Haas guys that's inside the playoff contention spots, but still can't win that race. And that is what they're looking for here today. William Byron's getting held up a little bit by lap traffic. That's Reed Sorensen in 27, and Chase Elliott's going to take advantage of it. He goes to the inside, following Sorensen as Byron runs wide, and Elliott's going to try to pass up Sorensen here, and it looks like he's going to be successful, so Byron loses the lead for the first time this race, and the 24 finally gets around the 27. Kyle Busch is coming down pit lane. I believe this is scheduled. This might be a strategy play for the 18 crew, trying to see what they can do to get out in front. You see Michael McDowell here. He's running a little bit further up than you would normally see the front row motorsports guys do, and you can see his teammate David Reagan is just behind him. McDowell is renowned for his road course experience. Won a race for Richard Childers Racing one year in the Xfinity Series, and trouble with Reed Sorensen. Chris Buescher going to get involved, and Ryan Newman plows right into the 27 as he comes back on the racetrack. That is definitely going to bring out a caution. That is a hard hit. Let's ride on board the 6. Doesn't think he's going to come back on the racetrack, but then slides, maybe a little bit of oil put down, and he's going to crunch right into him, and that is going to take the 6 out of contention in this race. And it doesn't even end here. Daniel Hemrick runs into the 27 coming down the hill, and even further on, there goes Landon Castle, unsure of where to go, where the 27's going. That is going to take a few more guys out of this race, and you can see Kyle Busch, after his pit stop, he pitted at the perfect time, as he is now going to inherit the lead, and he's able to stay out of that accident as well, which is good for him. So the 18 will rocket out of the gates first, and we'll see a little bit of jostling for position a little further back. Daniel Suarez trying to get around the 24. And it looks like he's going to be able to get that position back. So he now moves up to 3rd place. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick, he's doing pretty solid. He's starting to work his way back up. We haven't talked about him yet. He did not have a great qualifying run, and he's trying to gain positions as he can, and it looks like he's either doing that with pit stops or just trying to gain positions where he can. Looks like we have a penalty for Joey Logano. He might have jumped the restart or at least gone past somebody that he was not supposed to pass up, and so he has to do a stop and go. That's a bit of a momentum killer for that 22 team. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch is checked out on the field. Before the caution flag came out, the front 3 or 4 were pretty closely knit. Now Busch is just pulling away. A little bit of an off-course excursion for Michael McDowell. He's going to lose a couple spots to Blaney and Harvick there. Keselowski is also pretty far back, and he did not have a great qualifying run either, and it doesn't look like pit stops really benefited him. He's back here with Menard, Dillon. They're well outside the top 10. That's going to be a tough break for Keselowski if he stays back there. Meanwhile, looking at the front of Suarez, and you just barely saw Chase Elliott cresting the hill. And that is how far the second and third gap has become, as now the front two are just kind of checking out in the rest of the field. Second is still far behind first. Kyle Larson has fallen back to 9th place. The pole sitter does not have the speed that he had in qualifying, and it just seems like that's the case for him every single time. He is not very keen to this racetrack. All the way down in 18th place among average finish drivers. Never finished inside the top 10 here. Joey Logano trying to work his way back up through the field. He's back on the racetrack, and with a clean track, he might have a little bit of a better time making laps. Maybe not exactly close to Kyle Busch's times, but he'll get back up to a few people. And if you're expecting Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to make up points here as he runs 20th in standings, you might want to think again. He only has 2 top 20s at this racetrack in his 6 starts, and they're very far back. His best finish is 18th, 37th among average finish drivers. This is not going to be the place where he makes up points today. Kurt Busch, meanwhile, he has a victory here. That came in 2011 in the 22 car. He is trying to stay within the top 10 behind his teammate. Chase Elliott trying to work around some traffic that Kyle Busch got around pretty cleanly. And J.J. Yeley is not giving him much space here to run. He actually was able to pass him back up as Chase Elliott had a bit of a narrow entry into the corner. Meanwhile, we see Logano. He's on his comeback mission. He's caught up to a few cars, including Kligerman, DiBenedetto, Menard, trying to see what he can do to work his way around. In a crash in the S's, that is Corey LaJoie and Ty Dillon making contact with each other. And that looks like it's going to bring out a caution. I believe they have dropped a little bit of debris on the racetrack. And when they come back out of pit lane, it is Chase Elliott that beats Kyle Busch out. And Alex Bowman's actually going to get a penalty for that restart. It looks like he might have passed somebody he wasn't supposed to. So restarts and pit stops are really playing a factor into this one. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick, he has found his way up into the top 10, and he has made his way around both William Byron and David Reagan. Now trying to chase down his teammates, Clint Bowyer and Daniel Suarez. Looks like Suarez has gotten around Bowyer for, I believe that would be 6th position. Austin Dillon goes wide off the end of the S's, and it looks like he might have a problem. He's coming down pit lane, and his car is smoking. That is a big problem for Austin Dillon, and maybe that's why he ran so wide. Looks like that is going to drop him out of the race. Meanwhile, Eric Jones, we talked about how we needed a good race today. Well, he is not having it. He is having some mechanical problems himself, and you can see he's all alone out there. Ross Chastain just behind him, but that is not really where he wants to be, especially in a JGR ride. You see Ryan Preece having a solid day today, and he had a bit of a controversial moment in the K&N West race earlier this weekend when he was ruled to have jumped the restart, but very controversial move by NASCAR to penalize him for that. Noah Gragson ends up winning that race. Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch get their way around J.J. Yeley cleanly this time. Meanwhile, Yeley is holding up a few other cars. Almirola is really taking the blunt of that, as now looks like Kurt Busch is going to go underneath him. Daniel Suarez might have a run at it as well, as the 51 cannot get out of the way on this very narrow course. William Byron trying to take advantage of those struggles as Suarez still behind Yeley. His teammates pass him up, and it looks like Harvick's trying to challenge Byron for a position. Suarez finally gets around the 51. And the 2 leaders are now going to face Ross Chastain coming down the S's. This is really a game of pick and choose your battles and where you want to make the pass. Where it's going to work out. Kligerman getting a little wide. We're going to see a lot of cars getting wide in that corner and kicking up a little dust. We saw it in practice. Some guys ran a little bit wide of that corner. And some contact there between Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain. He tries to get underneath them. And now Busch sticking the nose through the carousel. And they're side by side, 3 wide actually, in the carousel. And Kyle Busch might come out with the lead in this one. That little bit of contact and Chastain getting in the way might have given Busch the lead. But Elliott fighting back hard on the inside. And it's still side by side as they come through the hairpin. Still side by side. They are staying with each other. It looks like Elliott had the preferred line, but Busch had some momentum. And who's going to get it when they get off the S's? And it looks like Kyle Busch is going to take over the lead, so 18 to the front for the first time this race. He was about to pass up the 22 for a lap, but it looks like Logano's coming back down pit lane. He might have some mechanical problems himself. So a couple of teams having some problems. We see Stenhouse Jr. He might have had a few problems himself as he is nowhere in sight compared to the guys he was racing against earlier. And there we go. Logano did have some problems as now he is stalled up at the top of the S's, and there is Kyle Busch going by him. That's going to add another lap that Logano is going to have to make up if he has any chance of gaining some considerable position. On this restart, we had a little bit of pit strategy, and that is Suarez and Boyer, they stayed out on the racetrack to gain the track position, which might be essential to winning this race. Meanwhile, we see Chase Elliott. He is in 9th after making a pit stop, and he is caught in some traffic. That's Justin Haley, Joey Logano, Eric Jones, all guys that I believe are a lap down at this point. Meanwhile, Matt DiBenedetto is having a great day as he passes up Matt Tifft, who kind of made the same pit strategy as the front runners. And he's going to be on the outside of this lane, but a great run for DiBenedetto, who's still looking for that top 10 run. You're seeing pit stops here, and this is under caution. We had some debris on the racetrack, and some of the guys that came in before, they came down once again. And now the lead's going to be in the hands of Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin, Eric Almirola, Martin Truex Jr., all just behind, trying to make up the positions. Brad Keselowski's been able to find his way back up in the top 10. We mentioned the struggles he was having earlier. Now trying to chase down Michael McDowell. Where did he come from? He's back up there in the top 5. And it just goes to show that some of this strategy is playing a factor into where these guys run. But, of course, Michael McDowell, no stranger to road courses. He is very strong at these. Meanwhile, Harvick has found his way up into 3rd place. He came in runner-up last season, and this could be a great run for him. But we've got another problem. The slow car of Yaley, well, now he's even slower as he has a problem, and he's going to stall on the racetrack. So that is going to bring out yet another caution on the circuit. Kyle Larson still leading the way. He'll rocket away from the start-finish line. And Daniel Suarez going down for some service. I don't know what that's about. Meanwhile, Harvick trying to take 2nd place away in the final hairpin. Still side by side. Not ideal going through this corner. But he's still side by side, and he gets the position from Hamlin going through the front stretch. So Harvick now up to 2nd place and chasing down Kyle Larson for a victory. And meanwhile, here's the Busch brothers, Kurt and Kyle, and the 1 car is going to make the pass on the 18, going through the carousel part. That was quite an impressive move, and that is one of those braking zones that you want to take advantage of. And Joey Logano and Ross Chastain tangle. The 15 goes into the wall, and that is going to bring out another caution as 15 stalled on the racetrack, and so is the 88. He has mechanical problems of his own. We're seeing a lot of issues this race, and Kyle Larson's still going to retain the lead. But next we're going to see a couple of teammates tangle. Eric Almirola getting turned by Clint Bowyer coming off of the first hairpin up at the top of the hill. So that's going to cost Almirola a lot of time. And meanwhile, Byron's going to come down for a pit stop. He has some front end damage. Not sure what that's from, but that is something that he's going to have to repair. And we have a few more coming down for pit service. Kyle Larson, and that is Jimmy Johnson, Byron's teammate. They're coming down in the late stages. And back up at the front, Harvick on the bumper of Kyle Larson coming through the S's, and he clears him with flying colors. He goes around him, and that is going to be the lead to Kevin Harvick. After having a pretty poor starting position, he is up in the front, and Cody Ware goes into the wall off the first hairpin, and that comes off the nose of Joey Logano, who is responsible for our last caution. So that is going to put them back up and bunched together. Harvick is going to lead this one, though. Paul Menard puts himself in the top 10, just in front of Truex Jr., who's actually able to make the pass since the restart. And along with Keselowski, this could be a good day for the Penske-affiliated cars. Some contact here going into turn number 4. That is David Reagan going off the front end of Clint Bowyer. Reagan was having a great day going for him. And it's all going to go up in dust with a number of cars passing him. Here comes Blaney. Speaking of good Penske runs, he's going to go underneath Truex Jr. and put himself into the 7th position. So 5 through 7, all Penske cars. Joey Logano kind of held out in this one as he's had his problems. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has parked it on pit lane with some problems himself as he was having a great run. He really looked like he was going to gain the points and get that first top 10 at this racetrack, and now is going to go up in flames as he is stalled out on pit lane. And Kevin Harvick has checked out on Kyle Larson, way out in front. Ryan Preece is having an insane day as well. He's up here in the top 10. Looks like that K&N West experience is going to help him out a little bit here. Running his first race in a Cup car at this racetrack. And Michael McDowell, he's up in the 5th position, but a little off course. Going through the S's, and it doesn't look like it's going to cost him position yet. But he's got a chance to be passed by Paul Menard. And Ty Dillon gets turned by Joey Logano, and that is the 3rd incident in a row that Logano's going to play a factor in, and that is going to give Harvick the opportunity to come across the finish line first. And that is going to be the first win for Stewart-Haas Racing this season. Harvick gets some redemption after finishing 2nd here, the Martin Truex Jr. the year before. And besides that all-star win, Kyle Larson's still in the slump in terms of trying to get back to victory lane. Here are the final finishing results. Harvick, Larson, Hamlin, Keselowski in the top 4, and Michael McDowell. What a great run for the road course ace, coming in 5th for Front Row Motorsports. Last year's winner, Martin Truex Jr. in 7th place, and Stewart-Haas Racing puts 3 of their 4 in the top 10, and Eric Almirola not too far behind in 13th. Kyle Busch ends up in 12th after a late pit stop. Ryan Preece almost got that top 10, but he'll end up 11th. Outside pole starter William Byron in 14th. Some great runs by Matt Titz, Parker Kligerman, and Corey LaJoie to just stay on the lead lap. Looks like Kurt Busch had a problem in the late going that put him back to 20th after he was in the top 10 earlier. And Matt DiBenedetto, the last car on the lead lap. Alex Bowman, the first car a lap down, along with Chase Elliott. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. goes 2 laps down. Joey Logano 3, as well as Eric Jones. And here are the final 8 in the running order. Austin Dillon blew it up in the middle part of the race. Looks like Darrell Wallace Jr. had some mechanical issues. Chris Buescher, Ryan Newman, Daniel Hemrick, Landon Castle, and Reed Sorensen, all part of a multi-car accident in the early part of the race. That is it for this edition of NR 2003 Predicts. Hope you enjoyed the race, and we'll see you next time.